Hey, my friends, I am so happy you are here today. Seriously, it means a lot. This is our little corner where we laugh, learn, and get inspired together. No boring stuff, no pressure, just simple stories, easy English, and positive vibes. So grab your tea, coffee, or even just a smile, and let us dive in. Because today's story might just give you the push you need to keep going. Ready? Let us start. Part 1, The Struggle Begins. I never imagined that my journey would be filled with so many rejections. My name is Robert, and I am a doctor. But before I became a doctor, I was just a boy with big dreams. Growing up, I was always fascinated by the human body, how it works and how doctors heal. I used to watch medical shows and imagine myself wearing a white coat, helping people. However, my journey to becoming a doctor was not easy. When I first decided to apply for medical school, I faced countless challenges. My grades were not the best, and my family did not have much money. But I did not give up. I worked harder, stayed up late, and gave it everything I had. I applied to several medical schools, but every time I checked my mailbox, the response was the same: rejection. It felt like a punch in the gut. My dreams were slipping away, but even though I was crushed, I refused to give up. I kept pushing myself, studying harder, preparing for every interview, and reminding myself why I wanted to become a doctor in the first place. After months of frustration, something miraculous happened. I finally received an acceptance letter. I could not believe it. All those rejections, all the doubts, they suddenly seemed worth it. But this was just the beginning. My journey was far from over. What I did not know then was that this was only the first hurdle. The real challenge was yet to come. Part 2, The Journey Through Medical School. After receiving that acceptance letter, I was overjoyed. It felt like I had won a battle. But little did I know, the real war was about to begin. Medical school was nothing like I had imagined. It was tough, incredibly demanding, and full of challenges. The coursework was intense, and the competition was fierce. Everyone around me seemed so much smarter, more experienced and well-prepared. In the beginning, I struggled. I was constantly behind in my studies, and I began doubting myself. I would see my classmates acing exams, while I was barely scraping by. It was discouraging, and the fear of failure crept into my mind. One day, after a particularly tough exam, I found myself sitting alone in the library, feeling defeated. I was thinking about quitting, but then I remembered my dream. I remembered the moment I had decided to become a doctor. It was not just about the title or the status. It was about making a difference, helping people and saving lives. That thought pushed me to keep going. I sought help from professors, joined study groups, and worked late into the night. Slowly but surely, things started to improve. I was not the smartest student, but I learned how to work hard, stay consistent, and never give up. Medical school became less about perfection and more about progress. As the years passed, I began to feel more confident in my abilities. I knew I was still far from being the best, but I was no longer the person who doubted himself every step of the way. By the time I graduated, I had a deep understanding of medicine, but more importantly, I had learned the value of persistence, hard work, and resilience. But the real test came when I began practicing. Part 3, The Struggle in the Real World. Graduating from medical school was a huge achievement, but it felt like the start of another battle. I had earned my degree, but now I had to prove myself in the real world. The first few months of being a doctor were a whirlwind. I was a resident at a busy hospital, and it was overwhelming. The responsibility was enormous. I was dealing with life-or-death situations every day. Patients' lives were in my hands, and the pressure to make the right decision at the right moment was terrifying. I was not ready. I felt so small, so inexperienced. There were days when I questioned if I was even cut out for this. I remember one night I was on duty, and a patient's condition suddenly worsened. I had to act quickly, but my hands were shaking. I was not sure if I was making the right call. But then I remembered the lessons I learned in medical school. I remembered the times I had struggled, felt lost but had kept going. I reminded myself that being a doctor was not about being perfect. It was about learning, growing, and making the best decisions with the knowledge I had. I trusted my instincts, leaned on my mentors, and took a deep breath. The patient's condition stabilized, and that moment was a turning point for me. Over time, I became more confident in my skills. I started to understand the dynamics of the hospital, the nuances of patient care, and the importance of teamwork. I also began to realize that I was not alone. Everyone was learning, and we all relied on each other. But even as I gained experience, there were still challenges. I had to deal with patients who did not trust me, difficult colleagues, and the constant pressure to do more, be more. It was exhausting, but I kept reminding myself that every setback, every mistake was a lesson. I learned to take them in stride, to keep pushing forward, and to never let failure define me. One day, my hard work paid off. I was promoted to a senior position, and my colleagues began recognizing my contributions. It was a moment of validation, but more than that, it was a sign that all the struggles, all the rejections, and all the doubts had been worth it. Part 4, the moment of triumph. Years had passed since I started my medical career, and I had finally started to find my rhythm. The struggle to become a respected doctor had been long, filled with sleepless nights, constant learning, and overcoming countless obstacles. But in those years, I had learned to embrace the challenges. What once felt like an impossible mountain now felt like a series of manageable hills. I was not the same person who had walked into that hospital all those years ago, unsure of his abilities. One day, after years of hard work, I was honored with an award for excellence in patient care. The award ceremony was filled with my colleagues, mentors, and even some patients I had helped over the years. As I stood on the stage, holding the award, I realized something important. This award was not just for my medical skills, it was for my perseverance, my determination, and my refusal to give up, no matter how many rejections or failures I had faced. The recognition felt incredible, but it was not the moment of triumph I had imagined. It was not the applause or the ceremony. It was the realization that I had transformed from a person who once doubted himself into someone who had earned the respect of others. The real triumph was not in the award. It was in the journey, the battles I had fought, and the lessons I had learned. As I looked back at my journey, from the rejection letters to the sleepless nights of studying, to the difficult days in the hospital, I realized that the path to recognition had been long and hard, but it was worth every step. I had come a long way, but I knew that my journey was far from over. Part 5, Giving Back and Moving Forward. Now that I had earned recognition for my work, I felt a sense of responsibility. I knew that I could not rest on my laurels. My journey had not been just about me. It had been about the people I helped, the lessons I learned, and the opportunities I had to give back. After receiving the award, I made a promise to myself that I would never stop learning, growing, or helping others. I had been given so much, and now it was my turn to give. I started mentoring young doctors, guiding them through the challenges I had once faced. I shared my story, my struggles, and my triumphs, hoping to inspire them to keep pushing forward, even when the road seemed impossible. One day, one of my mentees came up to me after a difficult surgery and said, "Robert, I do not think I can do this. I am not good enough." I smiled and told him, "I have been there. I have felt like I was not enough, that I would never make it. But here is what I have learned. It is not about being perfect. It is about pushing forward, learning from your mistakes, and never giving up." It was moments like these that reminded me of why I had chosen this path. It was not just about wearing the white coat. It was about changing lives, offering support, and inspiring others. I also started giving back to my community. I volunteered at local clinics, offering free consultations to those who could not afford medical care. It was humbling to see how much people appreciated the help, and it reminded me of the importance of staying grounded. In the years that followed, I was recognized not just for my medical skills, but for my ability to inspire others. I became a respected leader in my field, but more importantly, I became someone who could make a difference, not just in the operating room, but in the lives of people. Looking back at my journey, I realized that all the rejections, all the struggles, and all the failures were necessary. They shaped who I am, and they pushed me to reach heights I never thought possible. But the true recognition, I believe, comes not from awards or titles, but from the difference we make in the lives of others. That is what truly matters. So if you are reading this and facing rejection, doubt, or struggle, remember that every step, no matter how hard, is part of your journey. Keep going, and one day you will look back and realize how far you have come. Your story is not over yet, and if you do not give up, you might just find yourself in a place you never imagined. From rejection to recognition, it is all part of the journey.